Okay folks, I'm back with another gear review video, and this is a highly anticipated one for me. I've been wanting to make this one for a while, finally had an opportunity to do so, so I'm going to try and do this as quickly as possible. So today we're looking at the Tama Classic hardware set and the Yamaha Crosstown hardware set. These are both marketed as lightweight sets of hardware meant for the gigging drummer. I'm a gigging drummer. I've probably done hundreds of shows collectively with these two sets of hardware. So I just want to give you some of my impressions of both, compare and contrast a little bit, and give you my best use case for you if you're thinking about picking up one of these sets of hardware. So right off the bat, so the bags. Let's talk about the bags quick. So the bags are great. I haven't had the zippers or anything break on either of these bags. It's a nice material on the outside, can withstand rain. I've brought these all over the place, and I don't really see any signs of wear or anything poking through, anything of that nature. The zippers are robust on both bags, pretty good. The Tama has a shoulder strap. I don't believe there's any type of shoulder strap that comes with the Yamaha. I'm pretty sure. But as you can see from the side kind of profile here, the Tama is much smaller than the Yamaha. I do have some extra stuff in the Yamaha bag, and there's a couple of extra things inside this bag as well. But overall, the profile of the bag remains pretty consistent when you get it filled up. So it's, there is a size difference there. So if the form factor is better for you there, Tama might be the way to go just on that alone. Okay, actually in the weight, if we talk about the weight too, I would say that the Tama stuff is coming in just a little bit lighter when I lift these up. Very easy to get around into a club quickly. The Yamaha, once again, a little bit bulkier. It's a tough call. It's really a tough call because the bags and the straps are a little bit longer. This a lot closer to the bag here, which makes a difference. When it's like this, you can probably fit a lot more stuff in this bag because you see how much extra room that you have here, but it kind of defeats the purpose of lightweight stuff. So this is what's in my hardware bag usually. So on top, I have my trusty Beta 57 microphone. I have an XLR cable. I'm actually able to keep one of the Tama Power Pad drumstick cases in here, stick bag. I actually bought the Tama, I believe it's like a concert snare stand off of someone on Reverb, and I use it as a tom stand, and it works great because it's kind of already at the perfect height for where you want a tom anyways. So instead of using just a normal snare stand, I bought a slightly taller one. I have the snare stand packed away in here, so much shorter base. This is the one that comes with the concert snare one. Hi-hat pedal right there. It's in two pieces there. Two of the straight cymbal stands. So all that fits in there. I actually have here today as kind of a bonus review, even though I wasn't originally going to talk about it, but it's a part of the set. So this is the Tama Classic bass drum pedal. So unfortunately, the bag is a little bit too small for me to fit all that, including the extra tom stand and this pedal in the bag. I usually keep this separate, and I put on like a little 18-inch bass drum. I kind of throw it on the top there, and it's pretty compact, as you can see, and we'll talk about that soon too. So that's what's in the Tama. Okay, so now let's open up the Yamaha bag and see what I have in here. So I have actually another Tama Power Pad stick bag. These things are great. They're just super compact. You can keep a couple things of sticks in there. Yeah, you can't keep a bunch of tools and other things in there. But if you're doing some just quick gigs around town and don't need a lot of stuff, then these are great, and they're super easy to throw in here. You could probably throw a regular stick bag too, but once again, you can't beat the form factor of these. I have another microphone in here. This is actually a Samson Q7X. Really great budget hypercardioid microphone. I actually, yeah, I suggest getting one of these, they're cheap. So this was the hi-hat stand. It's again 2 pieces there. The snare stand folds down like that. Get this out of the way. So this is actually, I'm able to fit a pedal, my bass drum pedal in the bag here. And you'll notice this is not Yamaha. This is actually a Sonor. This is one of the Jojo Mayer pedals, but this is the standard perfect balance pedal. This isn't the more higher end, expensive one that has the special column attachment thingy. This is a really great pedal, and I'll talk about this when comparing the other pedal there. But once again, pretty good form factor as well when you're folding it down. I actually have a repurposed kind of stand in here. I don't even know what this is. I think this is a pearl or something. I don't even know. I've had this for a while, just in a random pile of hardware. And then this is another. I think you know what, this is most likely either a Yamaha or a pearl, like student snare drum stand. So once again, it's the same kind of idea. I have a longer kind of concert snare drum stand acting as like a tom stand. So I keep that in here pretty angled and it fits in there fine. This is actually pretty lightweight. 2 of the Yamaha straight lightweight cymbal stands in there. Okay, so let's start with actually the hi-hat stands. So right off the bat, these are 2 great hi-hat stands, options for hi-hat stands. Let's start with some of the impressions of the Tama. So what I love about the Tama one, so when this folds up, the plate, it actually has these 2 kind of nub kind of things here where you can kind of slide in these squeezing kind of parts so it doesn't kind of flail around in the bag. So once you get that in there, it goes in very easily to the holes down here. There's not a lot of room for it to kind of flail around. So that goes down pretty easy. When you open up the legs here, which are towards the top, you fold them down like that. A little tip, if you get these, a lot of people have a hard time setting up their hi-hat stands. Not sure why. If you really keep the firm kind of pressure down, not crazy pressure or anything like that. If you keep good pressure down and then tighten it, you'll find that this won't rock around all over the place. But when people are just kind of lightly throwing it down, they'll notice it'll start to wobble on the floor. But if you get it down, there's actually a little point that will tell you, it'll stop there. Keep it kind of firmly pressed down, then tighten it. This will not move around on you. There's some adjustments here. I think you can move the tube around to your liking. You can adjust the pedal action there as well. I don't think I made any adjustments to that. I think it was fine right out of the box. Yeah, this is a great feeling pedal. Let's see, let's look at the other half here for a second. So what I love about the Tama stuff, which the Yamaha does not have, or does not work quite the same, or at least I don't think it does. So the cool part about Tama stuff, and this is even the case on my Speed Cobra pedal that I have with another set of hardware, is that you can keep some truck action outside. You can actually keep the hi-hat rod inside the tube, so it protects it when it's being when it's in the case and you're traveling around with it. So you can actually, it's the perfect length. So when you put the included clutch, it will slide on just so that it's perfectly in there. So this is not going anywhere. So I love that about the pedal. So then looking at the Yamaha one, so you'll notice that this is, just kind of free hanging out here, which, I give some points away from Yamaha for that, when the Tama can easily kind of go into the pedal. Another thing, if you'll notice, which I don't necessarily like about the Yamaha, is that when it's in this kind of section, or when it's set up like this, you can't easily get these scrunchy metal things into the holes where they need to go because the legs are blocking them. So what you'll notice though, on the Tama, when the legs are up like this and stored away, you can still access this part first, which I actually prefer. It's a lot easier to set up that way, it doesn't get in the way, so that you can just leave it like that. So a couple points off the Yamaha there. It's not the biggest deal in the world, but it just makes it, you know, a difference, because if this is going around like this, then you're kind of like, you know, and then messing with it. So you'll notice that the holes are a little bit higher here on the Yamaha, which is fine to get in there when it's there, it's set up ready to go. So same thing here. Just make sure whatever surface you're playing on, you know, make sure it's nice and firmly held down here, and then you tighten it. Then you won't have any issues. This will not rock around. Neither of these will rock around at all. So you'll notice that the pedal on the Yamaha is a little bit bigger than the Tama. I have a 13 size shoe, so you know, I think I feel a little bit more comfortable on the Yamaha, but after a while getting used to the Tama stuff, you don't really mind it. So that's fine there. So one big thing about the second part of the hi-hat stand. So what I do love about the Tama stuff is that they come with memory locks, so that I can easily set this up the same way every single time with no issue. And so it just slides right in. So the Yamaha didn't come with any type of memory locks, which I know that they're trying to save on weight here. Maybe if they developed an aluminum kind of style memory lock, that might even be cool. So what I did was I actually just took a Gibraltar memory lock that would fit properly around the size tube. I'm not sure what size it was. I can try and look into it if you're curious, but got that on here. So now I can get the same height every single time, and it kind of lines up in such a way where it kind of works. So I've been using that to help me line up the height of the hi-hat. Yeah, so overall, these are, the function wise, it's, you know, they're great. They both feel great. You definitely get a lot more adjustment on the Tama stuff, because you can adjust the pull rod here, and I think you might be able to adjust something else here with this. I forgot what. I think it's the positioning of this pole as well. But the Yamaha, you really don't get much of anything. That's what you get. You know, it's a good feeling pedal, but you don't really have that luxury of changing the height. So it's like with the Yamaha, it's a little bit higher than, you know, the action of the Tama, I'd say. But outside of that, then also with the hi-hat rod too, I replaced the clutch that came on the Yamaha one. It's all right. I actually prefer the Tama one a little bit better. I think the felts feel a little bit nicer. It's a little bit quicker to get on, a little bit smaller. But I have one of the Pearl kind of quick lock ones, and this thing works great because it's all about, you know, ease of access and coming off, and it's easy to get the felts and stuff on and off. Sometimes it can be a little bit harder to get this pull rod in there. It's a lot easier on the Tama. So overall, I'd give the advantage to the Tama one, just for some of the extra function points and the memory locks and some of the fun features of, you know, having the pull rod go inside safely. Can't really do that with the Yamaha one. As far as like the weight, I think the Yamaha is actually lighter, even though it's a little bit bigger, but it's negligible. You know, and you'd be fine using either of these on a gig. I've used these on a lot of indoor stuff. I've actually used the Yamaha outdoors, and it's been fine. I'm not worried about it falling over, breaking, or anything like that. Both are built really well. Even though, you know, you can tell like the tubes are a lot bigger on the Yamaha as opposed to the Tama. But yeah, it's still, this stuff is incredible how lightweight it is. So yeah, the Tama is definitely a little bit heavier, but it's I don't know, it doesn't make a big difference. But yeah, so I'd give the edge a little bit to the Tama just for some of the extra features. You know, if you're just used to a normal size kind of hi-hat pedal, then yeah, you'll probably want to go for the Yamaha one just because of the size of the pedal and things like that. But it's probably pretty easy to get adjusted to the size of the pedal here. And so, but if you want some of those extra, if you're extra picky about your hi-hat setup, then maybe look at the Tama one. But yeah, I think that's what I have for general observations there. Let me know what you think, if you have both of these and what you prefer. I'd be curious to see what you hear. Oh, also there's actually the fun little shoe protector Velcro down here, and Tama has something over here as well as I'm looking at it. But yeah, all right, so let's move on to the snare stands. Okay, so we have all three of our snare stands, if you will, here. So let's get started with the Yamaha. So ultimately, super compact when you fold it up. It's great. This tilter, infinite, kind of, well, it's not infinite, but it's one of the toothless, or I don't know what they call it, gearless tilter systems or something like that. So you can really get whatever adjustment that you need. I really like that as opposed to the teeth ones where it's always never quite right in the right spot where you want it. You got, one of these plastic kind of adjuster things for the basket. Works great, very smooth. All of the adjustments here, you can get this pretty tall. The channel legs come out. And then I actually, on my stand, I put some of the, I think they're called like booty shakers or something like that. These kind of foam pieces that help the drum speak a little bit better, resonate a little bit better. So I actually have one of those on this stand right now. So yeah, this is really no complaints here. It's just a solid all-around snare drum stand. I've put heavy snare drums on here. I have heavy kind of brass snare drums. I have a copper snare drum that I use all the time. I've never had any issues with anything being choked out. Me just putting these on here, I just happen to have them and I like to use them. I think they help all the drums a little bit, so I threw it on the stand. It's not because the stand was doing anything weird where I thought they needed them. But yeah, no issues, doesn't rock around. I'm never worried about it. Once again, like falling over, rocking around. But yeah, this adjustment system's great. Everything's really great about that. So if we look at the Tama snare stand, so ultimately here, we have a two-piece kind of system. You could probably leave it in, but it would be too long for the bag to leave it attached together like that. But once again, we have the same kind of tilting system here, so we can easily adjust this however we need to. Right now, so one of the gripes with this system, or the Tama stuff in general, is the adjustment pieces have gotten a little kind of scratchy. I might need to throw some WD-40 or some other like white lithium grease or something like that, clean it up, because it's very hard to kind of articulate around, and definitely not as smooth as the Yamaha stuff. This is just easy, tightens up. This ain't going anywhere. When this is locked in, this is really not going anywhere either. But right now it's a little tough to adjust, and so that might just need some oil or something like that. I've used this a lot, so it's easy to understand why. So you'll notice with the basket here, we have one of those ones that just kind of articulates down, but here is the classic kind of way where you would swing out these arms, which I almost prefer to this system, because this always ends up getting jostled around in the bag and you lose exactly your position. And this comes out the same way every single time. You can get your snare drum size fit here. So between that adjustment and this, I'm not going to do it because I want to go back to my stair size. You adjust this little thing and you can articulate this bar in and out, which I think is great because it's the same setup every single time. It's not gonna fall apart in the bag, whatever. You won't lose your settings. So I think the only thing I do notice sometimes is that when you're playing extra hard, one of these bars might move a little bit like that, but it's still holding the snare drum. And this basket system, I think, does a really good job with helping the sustain of the drums, as opposed to maybe another kind of snare stand. There's something about it, and it's really easy to kind of slide it in. So I'm a big fan of the Tama system of this, and it folds away pretty easy into the bag. So the only thing that you kind of, well, it's the same way on both these, that you have to kind of readjust the snare drum stand each time that you kind of throw it into the bag. And then no complaints here with this little guy, super small, even though it's a lot thinner. You know, the channel legs there on the Yamaha. I would still trust this, you know, at any sort of gig. Yeah, this is a bit more robust, so you might do a little bit better on maybe some uneven ground, things like that. I've primarily used this Tama stuff in clubs where, you know, you have a flat surface and, you know, there's rugs and, you know, and a good floor. So you might run into some trouble there. I don't normally use that stuff during outdoor stuff, just because of the kind of how these, you can actually get it to a straight kind of stand too. Works like that, or you can use it like a normal kind of snare stand like that. So it's not all just flat, but you can use it flat. So yeah, so another part, a lot of these adjustment parts here feel, I don't know, they definitely need some oil. A lot of these parts, they definitely need some oil, like they get kind of scratchy. And then I actually looked at one of them, I pulled them out one time on one of the stands, the Cymbal Stands. It was definitely a little bit stripped, sort of, but it's been working fine. If you don't really over tighten it, you really don't need to over tighten it. It'll work fine. So that's just an observation I had there. But yeah, so between, once again, they have the included memory locks in on there. I get the same height every single time, which is great. So once again, you can't really do that on this Yamaha one. I mean, you could, you know, you could do the memory lock system like what I did with the hi-hat, which is totally fine, but then you'd be separating these two pieces. And, you know, these come together and fold together pretty nicely. So it's, you almost don't want to, because this folds together like that. I mean, this is great, this is super light. So there's some pros and cons with each. Once again, I think I like this, you know, basket system a little bit better. The tilters are basically the same. This one's a little bit rougher. And then, yeah, you get the memory lock system for this. So it's a tough call there. They're both pretty good. Not much more to say about this guy. So you'll notice that I have the basket articulated for a 12-inch tom. So that kind of shows the difference there. So this is for my 14-inch snare drum. This is for my 12-inch tom. I believe it's a little bit, yeah, it's a little bit longer as well. So the tube is a little bit longer there. So, but I know exactly in my bag that this one is for my 12-inch tom because it's articulated different. So I think that's awesome, and I don't need to keep readjusting it because once again, those always kind of move around in the bag and I don't like it. And then you also get the extra length in that concert snare stand. So I think it's perfect for toms. So if you want to use it as a tom stand, I think that's a great idea, especially if you're a little bit taller. I'm like 6 feet tall, so it's kind of, I want it higher up anyways. So two great stands, a couple differences there, but let's get into, I think probably what everyone's curious about is the cymbal stands. Okay, so we have the two straight stands that both companies offer. So just looking at the sort of size of these in the same kind of setup, you know, the Yamaha ends up being a little bit taller than the setup there. You can, you know, definitely swing down these top portions too to give you a little extra space in the bag, which is fine, but I like leaving them adjusted to where I normally like the angle of my cymbals. So I leave them as is. So you'll definitely have a little bit more room in the bag for the Tama stuff. As far as weight, the Yamaha, funny enough, it is actually lighter than the Tama stuff. So it's crazy, you know, with the size and you see it like that, but it's just incredible what they were able to do with these CS3 straight stands. But so let's look at some of the adjustments. So let's see, actually starting from the top. So with the Tama stuff, I actually use these, I forgot what they're called, cymbal mates or something like that, where you just squeeze them to pull them off. Really great for gigging. Really great feeling felts. Sometimes, I don't know, I don't like certain cymbal felts, but these work great. So these did not come with the stand. I put them on there, but I think they work great. They look good too. So the top adjustment portion here is one of the teeth systems. So it works a little bit better on cymbals. I don't mind it as much. It's actually the same on the Yamaha as well. They both have the teeth system there for adjustment. Not the biggest deal in the world. So then we both, on both these stands, you have the 2-tier kind of adjustment for each section. So with the Tama, you know, you can get, I primarily get, you know, the bottom base part that's sturdier, a little bit higher than the rest of the way. I'll just kind of adjust this guy, and it, it can go pretty long. Actually, let's kind of do a test here. I'm kind of curious to see between the two of these guys. It just keeps going. So about there. Get the legs open for this. So once again, the legs come down on these models. So this is more of a typical flat-based kind of style setup. Get that tightened down. So it's pretty long. I wouldn't suggest using it like this because this might move around a lot. But it's honestly pretty sturdy. So you have the length of this one. And so if we look at the Tama, get this open too. I don't know, I'd probably normally use it around there. Kind of keep it around there. I probably wouldn't use anything wider than that. Like maybe if you're outside. Actually, there's been moments where I've had to use this stand on some outdoor shows where it was actually windy. And I actually don't use top felts on this stand. So when the cymbals were kind of flailing around and the bass was a little bit higher, I actually, one of these almost went flying one time, but I was like, oh my God. But there was some pretty strong wind that day. But if you kind of channel it a little bit down, get a little bit closer, get it a bit more stable there, and put a top felt on the cymbal there, you won't have any issues. It's not because of the construction or anything like that. It's literally just because of the weight is so, it's so manageable here, but then the wind just kind of took it. So that's something that you can do there. But anyways, let's get this. So this will go about to, goes for a bit too. Get that about there. This will go, let's see, is it gonna be higher? I think it's gonna be higher than the Tama. So this can be pretty long. Roughly the same in height adjustment. I probably trust using the Yamaha more if you were going to use it at more extreme heights, just because of the sturdiness of the aluminum. This just feels, even though it's sturdy, it feels a little bit thinner. I feel like this is where the thickness probably helps a little bit. Actually, while we have it adjusted like this, the great thing about the Yamaha, which you may or may not have seen in some of the marketing for the stands, is that it has these rubber kind of pieces on each tier of the stand that will protect your fingers from slamming. You know, I wouldn't suggest putting my finger there. I don't want to put my finger there because it will still kind of hurt. But for the dudes that want to be extra quick, they can just drop this and it won't like crack the stand or whatever because these black rubber pieces here. So this is on this tier of the stand as well. But just super robust adjustment here. I've had no issues with the Yamaha stuff. I'd say that these, you know, these wind nut adjustment things are way better on the Yamaha than they are to the Tama. These feel good, but just how they were manufactured, the threading, just I don't have a lot of faith in it. It's been fine. Nothing's broken on me yet, but I think like some oil here and there or some type of grease, whatever, will prolong the life of the Tama stuff. You know, you should do it on the Yamaha stuff too, but really solid on these. I can't say that there's been any crazy sound difference between the two. I know some dudes like Steve Jordan, you know, they'll market like, hey, like, you know, the aluminum stuff, like it just breathes better, the cymbals, you know, resonate better. I think that, you know, it's true. I don't, you know, and I think like some of the, you know, both being lightweight, I think that helps the cymbal a lot too. So the cymbals feel good on these. I think the biggest cymbal I own is like a 22 inch. I put my a 22 inch ride. I put the ride on both these stands, and I think they're fine. I trust them. There hasn't been any issues with that. So, they're both great stands. It might come down to the weight and the function, but the function's pretty much the same on both of these. You don't find the memory locks on the stands here like you do on the snare stand and the hi-hat stand. You won't find rubber like what you do on the Yamaha stuff. But if you're looking for form factor and how it folds together and in the bag, then the Tama is going to be the winner here. But the Yamaha will definitely be the winner if you want a really just good, sturdy, adjustable straight stand. And it's not super far off, but I mean you can't beat the form factor. So when you get a couple of these in a bag, and if you look at the how thin it is compared to this, so for form factor, Tama wins, but for overall kind of function and just sturdiness, being lightweight, this will edge out the Tama stand. So to kind of round out this review with a little bonus review, we're looking at some great bass drum pedals that you can kind of complement with the sets. So with the Tama, this is actually a official member of the Classic Hardware set. So this is the classic bass drum pedal. Super compact, super kind of small, and actually very versatile. It kind of mirrors the old Rogers pedals, where they have this kind of collapsing piece for the spring, the support column, whatever you want to call it. I don't know the official name for it, but you adjust it by just kind of undoing this wing nut here. There's a little kind of line that you can line it up perfectly. It kind of finds the spot where it wants to go. You get that nice and tight. This isn't going anywhere. There's an adjustment for the height of the pedal. So if you notice, I have this very low right now. And this is because I was having a hard time with the bass drum riser pedal that I had for my Gretsch Catalina club kit. So I was like, is there a way I can just get rid of the stupid riser? And this pedal was actually a good solution to that, because you can literally hook up this pedal to an 18-inch bass drum and the beater will be practically center on the drum, which I think is great. And it doesn't need a riser. You can literally put this right on the bass drum hoop and boom, you're ready to go. People find it funny sometimes because it's a smaller drum and it's lower to the ground now. So people are like, I don't understand how you can play like that, but it's because of this pedal. So the only issue that you'll run into there when you're using it with smaller bass drum pedals is that, for me, like I said, I have like a size 13 foot, is that I'll have to stay kind of back here because as soon as I get into this area, my foot, there's no clearance there. So if I'm doing doubles and stuff like that, it's harder. It's definitely harder to do. So that's one thing you lose out on when you kind of use it at one of these shorter kind of settings here. But overall, the amount of adjustment and how easy it is for the tension, you can control the tension of the spring here. So the column, once again, adjustments here. What I like about this pedal is that when you want to clamp it to the hoop, the adjustment's on the side. It's not under the bass drum pedal, which I hate. You will notice though that there is an adjustment thing here, but this is actually for the kind of metal support bars. So you can undo that and get this even more kind of compact and fold it completely together. But normally I just leave that tightened up and then I'll just kind of collapse this this piece to get it to where I want. The beater sounds good. The chain feel, even though it's a single chain here and it's pretty thin, it works fine. Like I haven't had any issues with it. The action feels good. And I bet this would feel good on like a 20-inch bass drum, 22-inch bass drum. So normally what you do is you adjust, this column here to get the height where you want, and then you need to adjust the chain accordingly as well. And they have little lines where you can see, for each adjustment where you should put the chain for how high it is. So really well thought out pedal. This is like a great great gigging pedal. Like it's just, and this is also just super lightweight, just a lot of thoughts, you know, put into the details of the pedal. Really, really good. So if you getting sick of a riser for a smaller bass drum, maybe look at one of these. And if you, especially if you don't have like a really long foot, you know, you can definitely get by. But you know, once again, I have a size 13 foot. I got used to playing on this thing and it's fine. You notice that when you do keep it a little bit lower, one of the adjustment things here bangs into the pedal that grips, so there's like a little indent there. But you know, what are you gonna do? But I don't normally feel that when I'm playing. But overall, love this pedal, especially when I'm using my 18-inch bass drum. It's great. So this is, like I said at the beginning of the review, this is actually the Jojo Mayer standard pedal. This is not the more expensive version that has the collapsing kind of column here that simultaneously attaches itself to the bass drum. So this attaches to the bass drum with the side adjustment. All pedals should have the side adjustment of some kind. It should never be under the pedal. I absolutely hate that. I can't stand it. It's awful. But anyways, so you get this pedal set ready to go. You just kind of put it into position here. And when you put the spring on, this will give you, you know, the adjustment that you had before. There's like a little bit of foam that's in the spring here that has to fall out. Looks like I can get that readjusted. Yeah, just really simple, but I love the longboard of this pedal. You can really do a lot of great footwork with it with ease. The strap feels really cool. The beater that came with it, I was sometimes a fan of it, sometimes I wasn't a fan of it. There was just something about the feel and the throw of it. I adjusted kind of the angle here. Didn't quite like it. I adjusted kind of this where the spring was, and I don't know, it just never kind of felt right to me until I put on one of these Vic Firth, it was the VKB5 with the wood shaft. This is like one of the smoothest, best feeling pedals now. Like between the system, they definitely had, you know, a lot of well thought out engineering here, but adding in this extra kind of easy kind of throw with this this beater, this pedal is just awesome. It feels really, really good. I love using it. I have other pedals too. Like I use a Speed Cobra with my main setup, and really going between that and this, they're both, you know, smooth as butter. Just the feel of it overall. And once again, so this is a great gigging pedal, and it's easy enough to throw into your bag because you can kind of fold it in like that. And I normally put it towards the end of the bag, and so stands and stuff can still kind of make its way in there without destroying anything. And it's aluminum. A lot of parts are aluminum as well. So I leave this with the Yamaha stuff. It kind of matches a little bit with that kind of space age look. But that's actually a great segue. So, but well, actually I should say, so both of these pedals, great pedals. If you're getting the Tama stuff, I would definitely try and pair one of these pedals with it. You don't need to, you know, you could use whatever if you have a bigger bass drum, whatever. Definitely don't need to, but if you want to round it out, this is definitely a great pedal to look into. This is really cheap. I think I ended up getting this for less than $100 or something like that, or something ridiculous, or close to $100. This was definitely more. This is heavier, you know, definitely a lot heavier. But you know, if you're in a scenario where, yeah, you have that smaller bass drum, you want something, you know, to go along with the Tama set, definitely look into this pedal. It definitely has a cool vibe to it. This has a cool vibe to it. I think matches the Yamaha stuff well. So love those two pedals. But that's another big thing to think about as well, is the look. You know, the Yamaha has, you know, this very space agey kind of look to it, which, you know, comes from the kind of cool, I don't know if it's anodized, whatever, aluminum or whatever it is. So it might look good with some drum kits, might not look good with other kits. I have a Gretsch Catalina kit in the blue satin flame finish. I love the finish of it. Super vintage looking kit. People ask me all the time, is that a kit from the 50s? Is that a kit from the 60s? I'm like, no, dude, it's from 2012 or something like that. But I think part of it, which really throws people off, with the age of it, is when I pair it with these straight stands, with the flat, you know, flat bass straight stands, because this definitely fits the look. You know, if you're going for, you know, that kind of vintage kind of look to it with some, you know, updated modern features, you know, then the Tama is probably the way you want, you know, what you want to go for. Because if you want that vintage look to match your vintage kit, but you want some extra stability and some thought out features that are better than the old crappy kind of hardware, then I would go with that. And that's kind of why I pair this set with my Gretsch setup, because it's thin, it's lightweight, it's quick to get into, but then also looks the part as well. So I end up using you know, the Yamaha stuff on some of my more modern looking kits, and you know, obviously looks fine, but definitely something to think about as well. So that about rounds out this review here. I hope this was helpful to you. There's definitely a lot to talk about with both sets of hardware, small little things that kind of separate them. But ultimately, you know, for the best use case, I think if you're a dude like me where, you know, so every Sunday I do this show where I have to kind of get into a club quick. It's like an early show. You know, I bring in my small Catalina bot kit. You know, I try and keep everything kind of compact, easy to run in and out. So the Tama stuff works great for that. It looks great with the kit. It functions great. I only use like 2 cymbals. Everything feels great. It doesn't move around. I've never worried about it during the show. It's super dependable. I've done like, yeah, it's probably been like hundreds of shows with this hardware. It works great. You know, so if you're doing something like that, you want the look of the flat bass stuff, you know, you're doing some jazzy kind of things, you know, don't be afraid of rock dudes as well, because like this, it's like, you don't have to worry about this stuff. If you're not some crazy basher metal guy or something like that, you know, you're not gonna have to worry about these falling apart or moving on you. These are really sturdy. The weight is definitely manageable, so definitely look into these. You know, if you're looking for something a bit more robust feeling all around, you know, just with the engineering, you know, the feet feel great, the channeled legs, you know, the sturdy kind of connection points with the, I think it's like steel that they did with the aluminum. The Yamaha stuff is just great. It's super, it's so stupidly lightweight. I can't get over it. I love these stands so much. I bought 2 more of these stands and I use them a lot. But yeah, you just can't go wrong with either of them. The bags are great for both. You know, the bag will be smaller on the Tama, definitely manageable weight with the closer handles. The Yamaha bag as well is still really manageable, definitely lightweight. Excuse me. You can fit more stuff in the Yamaha bag as well. But yeah, for a dude that, you know, you might be setting up and breaking down a lot, you might not like, you know, this system where you always are constantly kind of figuring out what height you had it at before. You can add in some memory locks, but it'll definitely add to the weight as well. The Tama, you know, for some of those stands, having the memory locks on like the snare stand and the hi-hat stand, that definitely helps break, you know, get the setup a little bit easier. So there's a couple things here and there to consider. But overall, I mean, I give both of these sets an A+, for being awesome options for the gigging working drummer. So if you have any other questions of stuff that I've experienced or something more specific that someone else might not have mentioned in their review of these sets, please, you know, feel free to drop me a comment in the video and I will gladly answer any questions or do any follow-up that's required. But both these sets are great. The Yamaha, actually, just quickly talk about the price. Yamaha stuff is more expensive. The Tama stuff is cheaper, but it's harder to find. These were like out of stock a lot. I think I got my set from the Drum Center of Portsmouth. They actually had it in stock, which was great. I think the Yamaha stuff is definitely more in stock. So that's one thing to consider there as well. I forgot the price. I think it's under $300 for the set of Tama stuff, and then this was close to $400 or $500. If you start adding in stands too, it gets a little bit pricey. But yeah, let me know what you think of the video. Hopefully it's not too terribly long, but you know, definitely want to get most of the details out there. But once again, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Thanks for stopping by. If you liked the video, if you think it was helpful, then you know, give me a like. And then if you want to see future videos, definitely subscribe to the channel. Makes me feel good and lets me know that what I'm doing is useful, and I'll try and do some more stuff in the future. But until next time, see you later, guys.